So today on the bench we have a Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. I'm not sure if I did a video on this originally back when I worked on this radio, because I didn't really do a lot to this radio. It's probably been a few years since I worked on this originally. Customer had gotten the original customer, because it's not the current customer. The original person that bought this, it's a local, but the original person that bought this, I worked on it. I think the only thing I did was straighten up a little bit of bodged wiring in it and an alignment, and that was it. Didn't do anything else to it, because all the original electrolytic capacitors are still in it. I cleaned it up internally and whatnot, but yeah, other than that, it was just basically just get it up and running, and that's what I did. So really nothing was changed in it. It wasn't refreshed or restored. But it worked fine for that person. They used it and then sold it to another local. That person used it for a while, and it worked just fine, and sold it to another person. And that person is the current owner of this radio. So he takes his nice shiny Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV home, plugs it in, turns it on, and uses it for 2 days. Works fine for him. Fires it up the third day, and actually, I think he said on the third day it was working fine, and he was using, I don't know, there might be something problem here we have, but he was using this microphone originally, okay, an Astatic D104, non-amplified. He used that, for the first 2 days and the second day, and it worked fine. Now it's out in the other room with the covers and everything, but he then unhooked that and hooked up a Browning microphone. Actually, I'll show you what the kind. It looks just like that one right there. Okay, one of the original. It's a Turner style microphone. The only main difference is it has the grill that sticks out the front. But he hooked up that microphone, keyed the mic, and yet apparently I guess that was the last that it worked. Audio went away. It died. Said it comes on, but that was it. So He brought it to me. He said, "I think you worked on this one before." Yes, yep, I did. And like I said, I wasn't sure until I popped the covers off, because I hadn't pulled the original invoices from back when I worked on it. Yeah, I really hadn't done much to it other than alignment, straighten up a few solder connections, and a little bit of wiring. Just some bodged repairs from over the years. But so I thought I'd do a video on this. Maybe we can get some. Because I know this worked in recent history. So it's not like this thing it's going to be a boatload of parts that have failed. Something, probably a single component, or maybe one or two, but I'm assuming it's going to be a fairly simple repair. It's not like most of the radios I work on where, honestly, they can have a dozen or more problems because they're so old and haven't been used for a long time. They just need a lot of work. This one was working up until just a few days ago. So it's interconnected. So this has a power cable that runs in between, because the power supply is there's some power supply circuitry in this, but the main transformer is in this section, and then there's an interconnect cable, because then there's also power supply circuitry in this unit. And then there's a coax cable that jumpers between the transmitter and the receiver. The antenna connects to the transmitter, and then there's a coax cable that runs from the transmitter over to the receiver. So I have it hooked up to an antenna, have it hooked up to a variable isolation transformer. Let's fire it up and see what it does, if anything, because that's apparently what it does, other than it does turn on. So it's turned on. Okay. Oh, I was was worried for a minute. Okay, so while it's warming up, because it is tube type, we'll have to give it a minute. Well, actually, it's a hybrid, which is one reason, and I don't want to say this is my least favorite radio or most hated, because actually, man, when these things work, they work good. They sound fantastic. They receive really well. But when you have a problem here in the transmitter, oh, they are an absolute nightmare, because Browning was good at one thing: vacuum tubes. And they basically took a vacuum tube radio and turned it into a hybrid. So what they did was, was installed a PLL synthesizer circuit in here. So this can, and then there's 2 more boards here, and there's like 24 ICs, and yeah, it was a nightmare, and it can be an absolute nightmare to repair. But when they're working, they work fine. It's just when you have failures. So, and let's see, does it change channel? It changes channel, so at least that much is working. Now, that's another thing. If the PLL synthesizer circuit in this unit fails, the receiver will still work. This uses crystals. Actually, it uses a VFO, but there are crystals in here, and then there's the VFO, so it's got an air variable capacitor or potato slicer is used for tuning the receiver. The PLL circuitry is only used on the transmitter portion. So one or the other can fail, and the other unit will still work. So it's turned on. Let me turn the volume. Yeah, I'm turning the volume up, and I ain't really hearing anything here. Okay, I got it up. If you can hear me coming up against the stop. Yeah, that's full volume. And I hear a little bit of hum, which any radio, if you turn the volume up the whole way, you should have at least a little bit of hum there. Yeah, so I mean, it's alive, but yeah, it's not really receiving anything. I really don't want to try. Well, actually, first thing, and you need no tools to do this, because this has the antenna connected to the transmitter. The signal goes in when you're in receive. The signal just comes into your antenna, goes through the. Which is kind of hard to see; it's behind the transformer, but right there is the relay, the switching relay. Goes through a set of contacts and then comes in the backside of the receiver. So the easiest thing to do is disconnect the antenna from the transmitter and just connect it directly to the receiver. And that eliminates any possible problems in the coax cable, wiring connections, the socket, the relay. And let's try this again. I have sound. A lot more sound. And I hear people. Well, is somebody going to talk? So it appears to work. So there's nothing wrong apparently with the receiver. Trying to think here. I think the only thing in these is the relay. We'll just turn it off. I think this is a 6 volt. Yeah, 6 volts. Let me grab a drawer of relays here. And let's see. It should be these, I believe. 6 volt 52 ohm coil. I'm never that lucky. Then again, I usually don't get things that just fail like this. Usually I get disaster projects when I'm working on something usually. Oh man, if it's just a relay, I'm going to be so happy. Turn it back on. Wait for tubes to warm up again. I'm going to cross everything. Please work. Actually, I don't care. Oh, well, there's receive. Yep. Okay, bad relay. Can't believe it. Actually, I don't know that for sure. Let me get the PLL locked in there. Yeah, that's another indication of how cruddy. I guess it's the polite way to put it. The synthesizer circuit wasn't this. They put a reset on here, because if I turn it off and turn it back on, no display. Yeah, the PLL's out of lock. I gotta reset it even to use the damn thing. So let me grab the microphone here. Actually, first thing I need to do is switch over to a dummy load. So if it does work, it's not broadcasting on air. Okay. Oh, well, that ain't going to work so well. Maybe it's not working. I forgot to hook the antenna back up to the transmitter. Ah, hell. So maybe it's not receiving. It's still hooked up. I don't know. I hear some static there. I'm actually hearing something, so that's a good sign. Oh, wait a minute. I'm on dummy load. Ah, okay. Okay, so yes, the receiver does work. I forgot. Okay, so back over to dummy load. And turn the volume up here a little bit. Whew, water so low there is bleeding through. And we'll key the mic. Well, it seems to be working okay. Let me go over here and turn my other scope on. Wait for the CRT to warm up. Audio. Well, it sounds a little harsh. LED there. CV2 LED is out. This thing does have multiple problems. Audio 1, 2. I mean, it's modulating. It's just the ping sounds rather crunchy. Ah, that's why. I didn't have it. Let me hit the spot. Ooh, turn the volume down. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Ah, that's better. It's better and not. The receiver wasn't tuned in. Okay, so just in case you don't understand what's happening with the Browning ping. The problem is, it's not a problem. The earlier ones had it. FCC told them they couldn't. They did away with it, but made it easy to put the ping back in. But what is actually causing it is the receiver and the transmitter are both on at the same time. And what's happening is there's a capacitor discharging. And when it finally completely discharges, then the receiver is completely shut down. But until that happens, the receiver circuitry is still receiving, so that's where you're getting a feedback. That's what the Browning ping actually is. It's feedback coming out of the speaker right here and feeding back into the microphone. So the receiver has to be tuned onto the channel that you're actually transmitting on to get the ping and for it to sound right, and that's why it sounded like it's off. And I see that it's off. Actually, the dial is off by like one whole channel. I've got the transmitter on channel. I'm not saying I actually need to test that, but the transmitter is showing it's on channel 10, and I have this dial just barely a needle's width off of channel 9, and there's the ping. And it should change depending how you have the mic turned and how loud you have the volume. Because like I say, it's feedback, so depending how you have the microphone turned and how loud you have the volume turned up, the ping will be different every time. But, yeah, so everything seems to be working at least okay there. Now I just need to really quick check and see. Well, let's just check the synthesizer output. What am I going to need? Let's turn the scope on. I'm going to need... We'll just use the oscilloscope. That way you can actually see the waveform. The BNC adapter on there. Now, let me get out. Let's see, I need female, male, should be it. So, I'm just going to tap into the synthesizer output, disconnect it. Plug the scope probe. Got a signal. There. And it is what? 21.302. Let me pull the service manual out here. See here. Okay, radio's on channel 10, 21.430, and what did I say it is? 21.43. Oh no, actually that's 21.4302. So I never go by oscilloscopes to be that accurate. The counters in them. But that tells me that's pretty darn close. So, yeah, I'm going to say it's probably the VFO has slid out of calibration. Because, yeah, it's all... well, you can't even see it in the camera, can you? It's so damn blinded. Actually, if I turn it off, you can. So there. You can see it's actually almost centered on channel 9. So, apparently... since the last 3 people have had this being put back into service, I guess the heating and cooling cycles, the crystal has aged or something has changed in it. Actually, the first thing I need to do is put the bottom cover back on this, set the top cover on it. Now, for starters, you have to have this shield installed when you calibrate the air variable capacitor right here. Taking this cover off will shift it by several channels usually, because this shield is very close to the air variable capacitor here, and just a simple fact of moving it even a little bit can greatly change the capacitance of that air variable capacitor, and it'll, like I say, it throws it off frequency. But yeah, so what I like to do is when I do an alignment on one of these, of course, make sure this is installed and bolted down. So for the nuts. The 4 nuts that hold this on the bottom side, make sure that's on. Make sure you put the bottom cover on. Then also set the top cover on it. Turn it back on. Check it and see. Is it on? Is it actually off center? Because it's a very good possibility if I install the bottom and top covers, it might actually be centered again. But check it that way. If it is off, then I'll pull the top cover, leave the bottom cover still installed, pull the top cover, and then down through the shield here, you have to go down and actually through the holes in this perforated cover to do your adjustments. But this must be installed. So I need to check that. But yeah, otherwise, it looks like that's all it was. Just a relay. So, wow, how lucky. I mean, good for the customer and better for me. Thank God it wasn't the PLL circuit. So, those relays. Oh, and actually, I guess if you ever need one of these relays, I can show you what it is. Because the number that they have in the Browning books is just a number that they made up. If it focuses, there we go. The Allied part number, come on, get in focus, is TF154-CC-CC, and it's a 6-volt DC coil, 52 ohms. So, there you go. Doesn't get much simpler than that repair. Like I say, troubleshooting, just a matter of basically swapping the antenna from the transmitter over to directly connected to the receiver. Receive came back. The only thing that's different when you had the antenna hooked up here and here is that coax cable. So it could have been a bad coax cable, bad coax connector, connection on the relay socket. But of course, the most common problem, if it is going to fail, would be the relay because it is mechanical. So yeah, there we go. There's a very simple repair, very simple troubleshooting, very simple repair on a Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV.